Good morning. This is Paula at the Jidon Library, and this is S.T.E.A.M Stories. And today I'm going to show you how to make frozen goop. You might have also heard it called oobleck. We'll be making that later. First, I want to read you a story about colors because we're going to make different colors of goop. And this book is called Winnie the Witch. It is written by Valerie Thomas and illustrated by Corky Paul, and I am reading this with permission from HarperCollins Publishers. Winnie the Witch. Winnie the Witch lived in a black house in the forest. The house was black on the outside and black on the inside. The carpets were black, the chairs were black, the bed was black, and it had black sheets and black blankets. Even the bathtub was black. There's the bathtub. Totally black house. Winnie lived in her black house with her cat, Wilbur. He was black too. And that was how the trouble began. When Wilbur sat on a chair with his eyes open, Winnie could see him. She could see his eyes anyway. But when Wilbur closed his eyes and went to sleep, Winnie couldn't see him at all. So she sat on him. When Wilbur sat on the carpet with his eyes open, Winnie could see him. She could see his eyes anyway. But when Wilbur closed his eyes and went to sleep, Winnie couldn't see him at all, and she tripped over him. Whoops. One day, before a nasty fall, Winnie decided something had to be done. She picked up her magic wand, waved it once, and abracadabra! Wilbur was a black cat no longer. He was bright green. There he is, all green. Now, when Wilbur slept on a chair, Winnie could see him. When Wilbur slept on the floor, Winnie could see him. And she could see him when he slept on the bed. But Wilbur was not allowed to sleep on the bed. So Winnie put him outside in the grass. There he is. When Wilbur sat outside in the grass, Winnie couldn't see him, even when his eyes were wide open. Why? Because his eyes were green too. Winnie came hurrying outside, tripped over Wilbur, turned 3 somersaults, and fell into the rose bushes. So she's still tripping on him. This time, Winnie was furious. She picked up her magic wand, waved it 5 times, and abracadabra! Wilbur had a red head, a yellow body, a pink tail, blue whiskers, and 4 purple legs. But his eyes were still green. There he is. See his 4 purple legs? Now, Winnie could see Wilbur when he sat on a chair, when he lay on the carpet, and when he crawled into the grass. And even when he climbed to the top of the tallest tree there. Wilbur climbed to the top of the tallest tree to hide. He looked ridiculous, and he knew it. Even the birds laughed at him. Wilbur was miserable. He stayed at the top of the tree all day and all night. Next morning, Wilbur was still up the tree. Winnie was worried. She loved Wilbur, and she hated for him to be miserable. Then Winnie had an idea. She waved her magic wand and abracadabra! Wilbur was a black cat once more. He came down from the tree purring. Then Winnie waved her wand again and again and again. Now, instead of a black house, she had a yellow house with a red roof and a red door. The chairs were white with red and white cushions. The carpet was green with pink roses. The bed was blue with pink and white sheets and pink black blankets. The bathtub was a gleaming white. And now Winnie can see Wilbur no matter where he sits. There's her pretty house that's multicolored. The end. All right, now we're going to make goop. So here's my bowl and my spoon, and then you need cornstarch or corn flour and water and food coloring. That's it. It's really easy. So I'm going to put a half cup of corn flour. Cornstarch, not corn flour, but you could use corn flour. You want to put twice as much cornstarch as water. So I'm putting the half cup, kind of like powdered sugar, gets all over. And then I've got that in the bowl. Then I'm going to pour the water in. There's my water. It's all measured for me. And then I'm going to stir. Now, a lot of times I tend to get too much cornstarch, and I think I did it again because I overflow when I measure the cornstarch. So because I did that, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of water, a little bit at a time, because you don't want it really wet. You want it to be the right consistency. And if you happen to put a little bit too much water at first, you can always add cornstarch, a little bit of cornstarch to even it up. Now you want it to look liquidy. It looks liquidy, but I have this really hard time stirring it. Why? Because with goop, or oobleck, as if you want to call it that, it is a non-Newtonian fluid. When you put pressure on it, it turns into like a solid. So the stirring is pressure, and it makes it solid. Let me see if I can get it up here to show you. And when you let the pressure go, it turns into a liquid. I always think that's really cool. No matter how many times I bake this, it just is cool that it does that. Let me see if I can. I'm going to try to get it in my hand. Of course, it's messy. And then when I squeeze it, I'm putting the pressure on it. There it is, a solid, but then it will turn into a liquid once I let go. Come on, turn into liquid. Oh, come on. Oh, there it goes. It just takes longer than we need it to be, huh? There, and then of course I've got all this stuff. But the one neat thing about this is that it's really easy to clean up because of that, because it just kind of turns to a powdery thing. Oh, I say that, and now it's getting hard to turn it off. But I do have a wet towel. So that is how you make that. And then you need the food coloring to make whatever colors you would like. I've got just the basic food coloring colors. So you pour whatever color you want in. Then you need an ice tray, because then you're going to pour. I'm not going to add color to this one. It's still going to be white. But you want to pour the goop into the ice tray squares and then put it in the freezer to freeze. And you have frozen goop. Let me show you my frozen goop. See, I made blue ones. There's the shape of the ice cube. These are really neat ice cube trays that make these rods. I really like that. But there's my yellow one. Ah, see, it's melting. It's melting now. My red one and my green one. So I made all these colors, and what can you do with it? Well, one of the things you can do with frozen goop that you can't do with the regular goop is you can draw with it. So I have a piece of paper here, or color, and I can make all these colors on it. Ah, it's melting a little bit. It's melting, so it's like falling apart. But there's something, so you could actually draw pictures with it. But the best thing that's fun to do with frozen goop is put different colors together, and when it all melts, it'll become like this sort of a fluid. And then you can stir all these colors together and make different colors. I thought some of these would be melted by now, but they didn't melt for me. So I think you can use your imagination and know what it's going to look like. And there is frozen goop, which is a lot of fun. So it's a type of fluid that is fun to play with because you put pressure and it's solid. You let it go and it's a liquid. Almost like magic, like Winnie. So thank you for joining me. Next week, I'll be back with a story time. Thank you so much. You have a great day.